What's going on? It's Mass Gun Talk, episode 2. We're going to touch on a couple things, the Castle Doctrine, a couple other things about Massachusetts. So again, stay tuned. Thank you for attending. Thank you for your views. Leave your comments in the comment section. Any questions you have, and we'll do our best to answer them and get to them. All right, what's going on, y'all? We back again. This is the Mass Gun Talk podcast. I'm Corey S. I'm here to drop some more jewels so we can get an understanding of what's going on in Massachusetts, laws and things that are basically governing the concealed carry permit holders in Massachusetts. Okay, so as I mentioned in the first episode, you know, there's a Massachusetts law called the Castle Doctrine that governs self-defense in Massachusetts because it is a duty to retreat state when you're in public, and I'll touch on that a little later. But for the Massachusetts Castle Doctrine, look at it as my home is my castle. Okay, so like the big deal, if someone breaks into your home and you're scared they will seriously hurt or kill you, and you did not start the fight, you are allowed to use force to protect yourself, even very strong force. Now, again, think of your home like a castle. Massachusetts does not have a do whatever you want rule, and they also do not have a duty to retreat law in your home. It has a very careful and strict rule. Now, when it comes to the Castle Doctrine, all 4 of these instances must be true. So number 1, you must be inside your home. Your castle is your home. In other words, your house, your apartment, your bedroom, anywhere you live or sleep, that's considered your castle. It doesn't include your yard, your driveway, your porch, or your car, a store or the street. So these places aren't considered your castle, and these places would not be protected under the Castle Doctrine law. So in other words, if someone breaks into your room at night, that's covered under the Castle Doctrine law. If someone's standing in your front yard, that is not covered by the Castle Doctrine law. Now, the person must break in. They must either sneak in, kick in the door, break in the window, or force their way inside. That covers that part of the Castle Doctrine law. Now, it doesn't count if you let them in, if they're allowed to be there, or if they're leaving. In other words, if a stranger breaks down your door and comes in, that's part of the protection of the Castle Doctrine law. But if a friend that you invited gets angry, that situation is not covered. Now, you must be afraid of serious harm or death. This is very important because you must honestly believe they may kill you or do bodily harm. Not that they're rude or they're loud or they're only stealing something. In these cases, you have to call the police and go through that process. Like, for instance, if a burglar runs towards you with a knife, then you're covered under the Castle Doctrine to defend yourself. But if he's just running away with a TV, you're going to have to call the police. I mean, you can always replace your stuff. You can never replace your life, you know. So if you look at it that way, those are the 2 instances in that circumstance. Now, also, if God forbid the person did break in and they didn't start the fight, you must be defending yourself, not chasing or pursuing the attacker. Or pursuing the intruder. And you're not the person that is attacking first. So that also covers that stipulation of the Castle Doctrine. Now, you lose your protection if you invite them to fight, you chase them, or if you escalate the situation. So in other words, like if you hide and protect yourself and they find you and they initiate an altercation and you protect yourself, that's covered under the Castle Doctrine law. Now, if you follow them and attack, that negates the self-defense under the Castle Doctrine law. There is no duty to retreat, only inside your home. You have a duty to retreat if safely able to do so in a public space. You do not have to retreat inside your home. Now, Massachusetts is not a stand your ground state. So there is no, okay, corral, shoot out in the streets. You can't do none of that. You'll end up in jail quicker than you could say, what I do. I mean, there's laws governing the use of self-defense in certain situations. And you, again, have the duty to retreat if safe to do so in a public space. Now, failure to retreat when a safe escape exists in a public space will invalidate the self-defense claim. Now, especially when deadly force is used. Now, this standard has been consistently agreed upon and kept through rulings all the way up into the Supreme Court. So this is something that the courts are standing fast by, that in Massachusetts, you have a duty to retreat in public if safe to do so. There is no duty to retreat, as I mentioned previously, in your home. Now, the proportionate use of force, now that's another thing that a lot of people have to understand, because that means the amount and type of force you use in self-defense must be no more than the force needed to stop the threat you are facing at the time. In other words, you are able to use the amount of force needed to stop any threat that you're facing in that given moment. So if a person's using the gun, you may use a gun. If the person's trying to take your life, you can use deadly force if all the other factors align and are met. And that's another thing, that a lot of people have to realize, that there are stipulations to being a concealed carry holder, deciding to use your weapon. And that's why I say it's not a hobby, it's a lifestyle. Again, there are self-defense insurances that we'll touch on, specific ones in another episode, but that's another reason why you have self-defense insurance, because if God forbid that ever happens, one phone call, they'll tell you what to say, what not to say. A lawyer will be dispatched to you. They will help with bail, and they will also help in your defense. And if you took training, they will also use that to prove that you were actively making sure you knew the stipulations on when to use your firearm, and basically use that in your defense to say that this was a right to shoot. And also, Massachusetts is a state that you don't have to notify. So it's not a notify. It's a state where you don't have to tell a police officer that you have a firearm on you. There are states where you have to notify a police officer if you're carrying legally your firearm, and that's in a situation where it's a traffic stop, or in a point of detention, or being asked, you have to answer truthful. But Massachusetts is not. You don't have to notify a police officer in that situation. And again, I'm not a legal expert. I'm not a lawyer. So it is good to do your due diligence and check with your own representative, or even do your own research. These are some of the things that I've found that I'm sharing with you as I've gone through my research to get a better understanding of Massachusetts gun laws and what's going on in Massachusetts, in order to make sure that I abide by those laws, and that I can help anybody I know make sure they're abiding by those laws as well. Again, if you're carrying legally, make sure you have your firearm stored safely. Make sure you have something to store your firearm in, because again, if you leave your firearm in your car and someone breaks in and takes your firearm, you could be liable as a improper storage case. And maybe they might even be, I'm not sure. I don't want to. I think that people should be held accountable if a crime's committed, because that crime wouldn't have been committed if you had securely stored your firearm when you wasn't using it. And also be aware, because you may conceal carry of where you're going, because there are places in Massachusetts, there's places everywhere federally you cannot carry firearms, in federal buildings, city halls, hospitals, schools, on school buses, airports. There are places that say you cannot carry. So now, if you have your concealed carry firearm with you, and you don't carry, and you don't have a safe, now you don't have a place to put it. So now you're either tucking it under your seat or tucking it in your car, and you're leaving it up to a chance that someone doesn't break into your car, or something doesn't happen where now your firearm is missing, and now you're liable for whatever happens now that firearm has been taken. I actually want to take a minute out for the gentleman who lost his life in Minnesota, and for the young lady who lost her life in Minnesota, and for the other gentleman whose life was taken by ICE. Actually, just give a minute of silence for all those who've lost their lives due to ICE. Thank you for that. I mean, we're all humans. We're all people. We'd all deserve to be treated equally. Again, the gentleman who lost his life was exercising his Second Amendment right. Hadn't even brandished his weapon. Didn't even have it in his hand. Video goes to show that he wasn't a threat. He wasn't, making any threatening motions. They had then disarmed him as a band of ICE agents. One ICE agent disarmed him, so therefore he was no longer a threat. So there was no need for it to proceed any longer, any further. And that's another thing that as concealed carry owners we have to do, is learn to de-escalate situations. We can't be provocateurs. We can't be the escalators. We can't be the agitators. We have to learn to kind of step back in a situation due to the lifestyle we lead and how it could actually take things to a next step. And that's another thing that we have to have, is emotional intelligence, emotional awareness, situational awareness of what's going on around us. And those are some of the things that people have to work on. And I believe that people should work on internally to make sure that they're able to understand when and how to use their firearm, when it's a good decision to keep it, concealed, when is the decision to, defend yourself. And again, it's just a lifestyle that you have to own and be prepared for. It's not just a hobby. It's not a game. It's just not a one-time thing. You have to always be on guard, always have to be aware of your surroundings, what's going on. Again, there's training class that you can take to help you sharpen those up. There's instances where you can find yourself, just in a heightened sense of awareness because of something going on or some extra, agitation around you. This is the second episode. Next episode, we'll touch on a little more in depth on the laws that are changing. But again, there's certain things in Massachusetts that, you got to be aware. We got to be aware of. It is an open carry state, but it's not recommended to openly carry, even if you have an LTC. Just you don't want the extra attention. You don't want the worry. But technically, you can open carry legally with a license to carry in Massachusetts. A lot of people don't know that, but you don't want that attention. Again, that's one thing you want to think about, is you don't want attention. It's not to be braggadocio. It's not to be a cowboy. You don't want to show off. It's more so to defend yourself and those that you love, and if a situation arises. Excuse me. And you want to make sure that you draw as least attention to yourself as possible. And I know a lot of people talk about the different concealed carry holsters, the pocket holsters, when they don't leave prints. So, do your due diligence in finding something that fits you, that's comfortable. Again, depending on your size, no disrespect, depending on the weather, the time of year, you may, have on puffier, bigger clothes. You could carry a bigger gun or, a different holster. But hey, summertime come, you have shorts on, a tank top. You want to make sure that you keep it concealed at all times. You don't want to, have a reason for someone to, get on the phone because they have a misconception. They don't understand that you're legally permitted to carry your firearm. And then you just don't want no extra, chaos from people wondering what's going on, or, oh, there's someone with a gun, and not realizing that, you're perfectly fine, having that legally concealed firearm. Again, we'll go over also some ranges that are in Boston. I'll visit them myself. Again, going through the process, getting my license. Once I get that, I'll show you the firearm I choose. I'll show you the firearms I choose to collect. I'll teach people about the different place that you can go for precision rifle training, or, if you want to get into competition shooting. Again, leave any questions in the comments, any constructive criticism. Don't forget, hit that like, that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Of course, that lets you know when we're dropping new episodes. We're looking forward to just a bunch of things, different interviews with people to get their concepts, get their insight. Trying to see if we can get in touch with Mayor Wu to kind of get an idea of how she feels about the gun laws in Massachusetts, where they can go and how they can improve. Let's see, what else can we discuss? What else is on the agenda? Really just getting to know everybody. Again, just want to welcome everybody. Want to thank you for your time. And as things progress, the episodes will be a little bit lengthier, maybe a little shorter. We're going to try to also make them specific to certain subjects, so you can refer to a certain episode and get some information, get some knowledge, ask a question, reach out, and we'll be able to answer that. We're looking at all comments, reviewing all comments. Basically, I just want to drop in real quick, and just run it up with you for a minute, man, and just, drop some knowledge and drop some jewels so you can take back and sit and think. And just think about how you're moving, and if you already have your license, how you're thinking, how your mindset is. Do you have a safe, secure place to have your license, your firearm in your car? Do you save it? Do you securely have it saved, stashed in your home? Do you have a safe in your house? Do you have a biometric safe? Do you have a number safe? And just think about the safes that you use. Just think about situations. Batteries die, see, does it have redundancy? Does it have a key? Does it have a number? Does it have fingerprints? Just think about if your fingerprint's sweaty, God forbid a situation where you got blood on your hands, is the biometric going to work while there's blood on your hands, or your hands sweaty? Are you the only person that can get to that safe? Are you the only person that can access that safe? Do you have a plan of if something was to happen? Do you have a plan of movement? Do you have a plan of you're gonna go get your kid, or the spouse can go get your kid, or how are you gonna react to something going on when you need to defend your home? Have you thought about that? Just some things that we should think about, as we get into this concealed carry lifestyle, become gun owners. Have you taught your kids about the dangers of guns? Have you taught your spouse about where the gun is, or the dangers, or what to do if this happens, X, Y, and Z? Have you talked to your spouse about possibly getting a license to carry? Have y'all discussed it? If something goes down, where does the spouse that doesn't have a license and is not gonna address the threat go to with the kids, or so forth and so on like that. Basically, again, remember the top rules, the top safety rules is always treat every gun that's loaded. Keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to pull it. Always keep it aimed in a safe direction. Always know what's behind your target. Always store your firearm safe and secure, and never point at anything that's not ready to kill or destroy. Again, there's so much more we could talk about. Double feeds, stovepipes, misfires. We can talk about a myriad of things. How to conduct yourself at a range. Just things to help people just get the best out of this opportunity, or this path that they're on. Again, we're gonna jump into those, a little more in detail, so you guys can have a better understanding of, like I said, what's circulating in Massachusetts, what's going on right now. Again, there's some new changes, like there may be different rosters coming to Massachusetts. So again, stay tuned, keep your eyes peeled. Make sure you hit that notification bell, because you don't want to miss none of these episodes. Things is picking up, things is getting, a lot more toasty, and I want you guys to be a part, and I want you guys to see, we have planned. Looking forward to setting up some time with an instructor, getting some range time, working off each other, understanding the different choices we made for handguns, how each handgun works for the other person, just making sure that we all are on point, because it's better to be ready than get ready. That's why stay ready so you don't have to get ready, and it's steel sharpen steel. This is episode number 2, the Castle Doctrine and More. Again, this has been the episode 2, the Castle Doctrine and More. Thank you for your time. Don't forget, hit that like button, hit that notification bell, hit that subscribe button. Let us get up to 60 followers. Matter of fact, let's go to 100 followers. Let's start there. Let's start something simple. Let's get this channel popping so that we can reach out as many people as we can. We got big things to come. Again, thank you for your time. Stay tuned.
Something when you left, nothing prepping and cooking. Had to learn that the rules don't apply when no one's looking. I just buried and noticed the way that the shit I took in.
We're all humans. We all deserve empathy, compassion, and peace.
See you later knowing I won't be back. Sometimes you send out signals, clearly get no feedback.
Don't forget, leave your questions in the comments. If there's something that you want us to talk about, let us know. We'll do our best to answer the question for you to our best ability. We're building from the ground floor up. There's no ceilings here. And no kings neither. Always remember, you fall to the level of your preparation, not rise to the occasion. So stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Peace.